24 teams and 52 games across 4 cities in Egypt. The Africa Cup of Nations 2019 happening from this Friday. And of course, Africa Cup of Nations, we've seen the so-called underdogs, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Benin, and of course, Mauritania, Madagascar.
Yes.
Could this be this tournament for the so-called underdogs?
Frankly, I would say that I think they're going to put up a good show. That's one thing, because they've qualified for this tournament, and it's not out of luck. That's what I believe. I know that they're going to give a show, but honestly, and sincerely speaking, I think still the big boys in Africa are going to be the ones.
The big boys: Nigeria, Cameroon, Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt. Jonah, what's your sense?
My sense is that I actually agree with Dexter. The underdogs will just, for me, the underdogs just provide a forte, or rather, just to create a cut, basically. But at the end of the day, it's just going to be the big boys, and most, especially the North African teams.
Tunisia, Egypt, the hosts.
Yes.
And of course, Morocco. So something tells you that the winner of this tournament might come among those teams.
Yes.
Mackins, before you came on set 2 days ago, you're in Bujumbura, Burundi, and Burundi are in Afcon. What's the atmosphere in Bujumbura regarding their team being in Afcon?
Well, for the last 2 to 3 years, it hasn't been a very hospitable environment. But believe me, right now as they're recovering, right now with their team into Afcon, with the backing of their government, believe me, if you look at what the Berahinos, what the Nzigimanas are
Mustafa,
going to bring,
the Kogalo player.
As in, when you look at these players, they're not big names.
They're not known, could speak like that.
Most of them actually most of them are playing here in Kenya. With some few in South Africa and Lesotho, Swaziland. So when you look at them, the atmosphere back into their home country, the support that their government is giving them, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why that team is performing the way they are performing. They're being motivated. They're being motivated by their home country government. So wataperform, watajaribu. Yeah.
Dexter, East Africa has 4 representatives: Burundi, Kenya, TZ, Uganda. Hopes?
As patriotic as I am, I think Kenya is going to do something. They're going to move up the group stages. But I'm looking at
in a group of Senegal, Algeria, TZ.
Trust you me, we've played 2 test matches, and the results actually have been pleasant, if you ask me.
Save for that howler from the goalkeeper.
Exactly. Those are things that happen in football. But if you see that we were winning, because for me, the game against DRC was a win for me. And the first one against Madagascar, of course, was a win. Still, the morale is good in camp, because unlike the other times, everything has gone. Maybe we've even exceeded our expectations of what we would have thought would be the preparation. But on another side, I'm looking at Uganda. Uganda are going to be the East African team.
Haucho, Denis Onyango, who arguably could be the best goalkeeper on the continent.
Yes.
So when it comes to East Africa, we could say we might be represented well by the cranes of Uganda.
Exactly.
Jonah, let's now get into individual players. There are big names when it comes to Afcon. Sadio Mane, Senegal. There is Victor Wanyama Olunga representing Kenya. If you go to Egypt, there is Mo Salah. There is Ziyech. We saw what Ziyech did in the Champions League with Ajax Amsterdam. Could these big players have a show?
For me, as much as we have big names here, I don't expect them to make a show, especially for instance, if I take Egypt for example.
Mo Salah.
If I look at Mo Salah, I don't see that the Liverpool's Mo Salah in Egypt. I'll just see he'll play a role, yes, but he'll just be.
So he's gonna be just Messi Barcelona, but Messi in Argentina, not that.
Yeah, not that good. But I expect the young players, the players who are not known, the players who play in their own country, I expect them to make a name.
You follow a lot of African football, most of the leagues. If you go to down South Africa, we have someone called Kama Billiard of Kaizer Chiefs, but played for Zimbabwe. There's Knowledge Musona, the captain of Zimbabwe. Likes of Zimbabwe, South Africa, do they have chance of representing the SADC region? Well,
one thing that we should be aware of when we exempt the northern part of Africa, the South African League is one of the most competitive ones.
On the continent?
It's one of the most competitive ones. For instance, let us look at somebody like Dennis Onyango, the keeper one,
the Brazilian goalkeeper.
He's the best so far in Africa.
Yes.
Look at him at Mamelodi. Look at him way back when he was at SuperSport United. As in, when you look at South Africa and you look at other nations in Africa, it's one of the most lucrative league, and one of the best competitive leagues. So don't be surprised when you look at teams like Zimbabwe, when you look at teams like Madagascar, most of their key players play down at the south. So when these boys will come up here, they'll play their usual thing. But to me, this tournament, believe me, and I'll say believe me, most of the key players that we are used to in Europe, as in the Premier League, the Bundesliga, the Serie A, they're going to be a total flop.
Thank you.
They're going to be a total flop.
It's true.
This tournament was supposed to be organized held in Cameroon, but due to lack of proper preparation, it was taken to Egypt. Do you think Egypt is ready for the tournament?
Okay, the only sad thing that would happen with Egypt, okay, I've really been following how they've been welcoming their visitors and everything. They've been doing a fantastic job. I think infrastructure-wise, they're a fantastic host. But the only thing that I'm praying so hard that does not happen is the political part of it, which you've been able to see their former president, Morsi has died and all that. It could bring some complexities into the tournament and what have you. So I'm just hoping and praying that everything will run smoothly, but they are able and they are very well capable of hosting a tournament of this magnitude. Only that my other worry would come into what has happened with CAF of late. That is
the President Alishikwa Kule, France.
That could be the only other worry, because personally, if you ask me, this would have rather happened some 3-4 months before
the tournament,
or some 2 months after. Or one after. But right in the middle, 6th of I think June. I don't know,
3 weeks to the start of the.
It's not really auguring well with the kind of tournament that we're having, and the way the CAF has been able to kind of restructure and make football lovable again. Because honestly, I think CAF is doing a fantastic job. This was unwanted. This was not supposed to come up at this time. But I think that Egypt are well capable, and they're going to give us a fantastic tournament. Yeah.
How do you think the likes of South African players who are coming from down there where when it is snow, it's snow. Yeah. Then you go to North Africa where temperature, they are saying that temperature will rise to 38 degrees.
An average of 38.
Yes, so how does this affect players then?
It will affect players greatly because there's a high percentage of heat exhaustion. A lot of players who are not used to playing under the sun, even during, especially looking at some of the matches when they're going to be played, it's going to be very, very complicated for them. I'll greatly appreciate CAF for introducing the breaks in between the cooling breaks.
Yeah, there are breaks, 2 breaks on 30th minute and the 75th minute.
I'll be of the opinion they should have added at least a couple of more because the players were not exactly used to that heat. But all in all, it's appreciative, and at least they actually took the climate into perspective because a lot of players are not used to that kind of climate.